Alright guys, what's up? Jay here. So today I wanted to have a discussion about starting to carry a weapon light on your carry pistol. Now, I've kind of been going back and forth over the idea for the past couple of months, and I started to show a little bit more interest in it because I was finding myself in having to go places more that were like around the neighborhood that were darker, not lit up quite so well as say like a parking lot was, and it kind of got the ball rolling. And I started to show some interest in it, so I started doing a little bit of research, and I watched some videos, and I come across I can't remember the name of the YouTuber, but he had an interesting take on it. And this fella did a video talking about how he thought, for the most part, people who were newly accessorizing their carry guns with weapon lights, it seemed to be somewhat of a fad. And I kind of understood where he was coming from. A lot of guys totally ninja-fy and race out their carry guns, in particular Glocks. But the thing that I kind of noticed and took away from it was, I think where he got it wrong, whereas I think a lot of people, including myself, maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago, never would have considered carrying a weapon-mounted light, simply because of the fact that I think technology has come such a far way in just a short amount of time. For example, probably 10 years ago, I don't think I ever carried a handheld light. Whereas to me, nowadays, a handheld light, considering the technology is so good and the prices are so affordable, you can get into a really good EDC carry light for not much money. And to me, a carry light, a handheld light, is pretty much a necessity nowadays, whereas a weapon-mounted light is probably just a luxury. A good luxury, but not necessarily a necessity. But as far as like the technology advancement, as far as in handheld lights and light-bearing holsters and the actual lights themselves, I think they've come quite a long way in the past few years, whereas in the past I never really saw myself having the need or the interest to carry a weapon-mounted light. So we'll get on with it. This particular setup, as probably you guys know, if you've watched my past video on it, I've pretty much settled on the Glock 17. That's been my carry gun for now, for I guess about the past few months, 3 months or so, and that's pretty much the one I'm going to stick with. Recently, I guess a couple of weeks ago, I got the Streamlight Tlr-2. This is the 800 lumen model, and before that, before I decided to look into carrying a light, I was using this Green Force Tactical inside the waistband India holster. So I know a lot of guys don't carry or not interested in carrying full-size guns, but for me it works the best, and I'm happy with it. So I guess when it comes to considering whether or not you want to carry a weapon light on your everyday pistol, I guess I was pretty much thinking of the pros and cons of it. And I guess I can just go ahead and go out with the cons first. The only thing that I could really think of that would pretty much, I guess, deter me from it is the fact that size and concealability, and I guess a little bit, I guess comfort kind of gets thrown into that equation. Again, I know a lot of people don't carry or choose to carry a full-size handgun. I do. I can conceal it, especially like I said before about the technology. They make gun belts by many different companies that are really good. A lot of good holster makers out there that make good, basically minimalist rigs that can easily carry your gun and light with a light on it and make it pretty comfortable. So I guess obviously if you can compare the two sizes, this one has quite a bit of a smaller profile than the weapon-mounted light holster, but it's still comfortable. Made by the same company. Everything's nice and tucked in and smooth around the edges. I'll do a separate video on this once I've carried it longer. Actually, I've been carrying this setup with this holster for just under a week. So once I've carried it for a while, I'll do a video on the actual holster and the light itself. But so far, I'm pleased. So yeah, getting back to the con. Size and concealability. It's going to obviously leave a lot bigger footprint. You're going to have to deal with a little bit of extra mass and bulk, since I carry inside the waistband, and it is noticeable. It's not uncomfortable, but it did take me a couple of days of carrying for about 10 or 12 hours to actually kind of get used to it, and just to the point where I didn't really notice it. I guess weight's going to be an issue, because especially for a lot of the people who carry compacts and subcompacts. With the 17, it doesn't seem to be quite as noticeable to me, because it's a full-framed handgun. And one thing I like about this is that the light doesn't protrude too far past the end of the muzzle and the slide, being that it's a full size. So yeah, you're going to add a few ounces and you're going to add a little bit of girth to it, but again, get yourself a good belt, get yourself a good holster. I think you'll be pretty squared away. I guess when it comes to the topic of weapon mounted lights for your carry pistol, I guess the main one, as far as cons go, I could probably see, besides the weight and the mass and the comfort factor, would probably be the fact that so many people carry these little micro carry pistols that don't come equipped with a light rail. So you're not necessarily going to be able to carry a light, or you're not going to necessarily be able to carry the light that you are interested in buying. So you kind of have to go with that. But again, if you do what I think is a necessity and carry a good, handheld light, it's not going to be an issue. So I guess moving on to the pros, there's probably a lot more than I'm going to talk about, but I just wanted to list a few of them, kind of the things that helped sway me into at least giving this a try. Now, I can't guarantee I'm going to stick with this setup, for the rest of my life. It may just prove to be, too cumbersome or too much of a burden, but I'm going to give it a shot. The thing that I like about it, as far as having a light actually mounted to your carry gun, is that you can pretty easily maintain the same exact firing grip that you would if you didn't have the light. On my own time, on my own range time and practice, I do a decent amount of practicing shooting one-handed, and I'm okay at it. I'm decent, but I think most people, including myself, are going to be far more effective at shooting with two hands. I mean, I realize that shooting with two hands, maybe in a self-defense shooting, might be a luxury, but if you can do it, you might as well try it. The thing I notice is that mainly just speed and accuracy and controllability, and if you have to move from target to target, it's a hell of a lot easier if you've got both hands on your gun and you can easily just flick either side of the toggle switch. On the Streamlight, I'm right-handed obviously. On the Streamlight, you can go this way for momentary, or with the trigger finger there where you can keep it on. I'm probably more of a constant on kind of guy, because I definitely want to see. If you have to pull your gun, I want to see everything. I don't want to have to manipulate a toggle switch unless you're moving from cover to cover, or you're trying to deal with concealment, but that's a whole other issue. Probably another thing, like I said, just maintaining the same firing grip, being able to shoot more accurate, faster, have more control of the gun if you need a light, because if you obviously need to pull your gun and you need to see, I'm not too worried about exposing myself, because the idea is to, I know people say, oh, well, they're going to shoot at the light. Well, they're going to shoot at what you allow them to shoot at. If you blind someone, if you're pointing 800 lumens in some dude's, upper chest or face, his entire world, his entire universe is going to be lit up. So, I don't know, I guess that's the burden that us good guys have to bear, that I don't want to run the risk of putting rounds downrange at someone that doesn't need to be shot. Another thing is, if you ever, I guess, I know this is kind of like, we could what if this to death, but if you find yourself in the unfortunate scenario of having to draw your gun and get in some sort of scuffle, a gunfight, the good thing about having a light mounted to your gun, I would say, would be the mere fact that the light stays with you. Because if you've ever practiced or taken any kind of force-on-force, which I've taken one low-light force-on-force class, and the guys who had weapon-mounted lights did far better than myself and those of us who just dealt with a handheld. As far as maneuvering the gun, if you have to maneuver yourself around cover, if you have to brake left or brake right, well, you've got this one hand going over here, you may have to bring it over here to get around a barrier or a piece of cover or a piece of concealment. Well, with this way, wherever you're going to aim your gun, you got access to the light right there. So I found that it could be problematic having to work yourself around cover and concealment with only a handheld light, and that's the idea, is to not get shot. So another thing is that if you, God forbid, have to pull your gun and you run into some sort of malfunction, I would much rather have both hands free, so I could do a tap and a rack or fix a type 3 than just one hand. I know you can do it one-handed, but it's faster and easier if you have both hands. So that's another point as far as the malfunctions. Also, if you find yourself in a reload situation, again, I practice doing it one-handed. If it can be done, but it's going to be easier and quicker and probably easily more effective if you have both, if you have access to both your hands. So I know some of the arguments that people have is, well, that they'll say, if you have a light, you can't just go around muzzle sweeping everything, just to get a good sight picture on, just to illuminate it. I understand that, that's true, which is why you also will always carry your handheld light. But aside from that, there are really good techniques to use a weapon-mounted light to be able to see your surroundings if you're searching for something, or if you're searching for an escape, for an exit to get the hell out of there. One good method is if you're having to move and you're walking around, and if you point the light down towards the ground, it's going to reflect up and it's going to illuminate you pretty well. Or even better than that is if you point it up towards, say you're in a structure, in a building, whatever. You pretty much use the light to umbrella yourself. It's going to hit the ceiling or whatever, and it's going to bounce off and reflect light from there. So they're right. No, you don't want to go around using your weapon light to point in every single direction just to see. That's why you have weapon manipulation light techniques, and that's why you should also get some training. But I don't know, guys, that's just pretty much a few thoughts that I have. Again, I don't know if I'm 100% sold, but I do want to give it a try, and I do want to hopefully this year receive some more low light training. So I definitely wanted to get the light. I definitely needed to get the rig for it. And to me, I guess in the long run, it seems as though there's probably more advantages to having a pistol mounted light than there are disadvantages. Again, if you can deal with the extra size, the little bit of the extra weight, and a little bit of the extra mass of having a specific rig, that will accommodate your pistol light, I don't know, to me the advantages definitely outweigh the disads. So let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think? If so, what do you guys run? And we're going to go from there. So in the future, once I've had a chance to play around with this light and shoot this pistol more with it, I'll let you know my thoughts on it. I'll do like a comparison vid of like some other lights I have laying around the house and a couple of other weapon lights, and I'll also talk more about this Green Force Tactical holster. So until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks.